I think that we can get started. So today we are going to talk with you about Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace Backup and how MSP360 can help you to establish the secure and reliable protection for your valuable data. Just as an introduction and just to let everyone join us, because I still see that people are joining, I'd like to mention a couple of words about the company. So MSP360 was founded in 2008 by the group of IT professionals as a cloud-native backup solution. So today we have more than 14,000 of active customers around the globe, and we are growing, and we are developing our software. So a lot of people trust our backups. I'm sorry, a lot of people trust their data with our backup solution. So today we have not only the backup solution, but we also have an RMM and Connect application that actually makes it as a whole platform for MSPs, and it offers the quite extensive and quite complete tool for MSPs and internal IT administrators. So it's not only for MSPs, but if you are an internal business, an internal IT department, our software can also be a great fit for you. And today I'd like to focus mostly on the Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace Backup that also exists for quite a long time with our solution. So as I mentioned, we have several products, and we have also the native integrations with Amazon Web Services for the storage, Microsoft Azure, Wasabi, Backblaze, and for the PSA parts, we also have the integration with the ConnectWise, Autotask, and Hello PSA. So Hello PSA have been recently added, and we are actively working on that. So if you haven't checked that yet, please also give it a shot, because this is something new that we just recently added, and we see more and more demand for the Hello PSA. So speaking about the agenda today. So today I will show you a brief presentation with a couple of items about the reason why do we need to back up Microsoft 365. And after that, I would also show you the product demonstration. Recently, we've launched a new version. We just had a release last week, and I hope that you would find it exciting. And again, for someone who just recently joined us, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I see that we have already a couple of questions over there, and our engineers will do their best to address your questions. All right, so let's get started. So the first question is, why do we need to back this up? So actually, this question happens quite often. So we see a lot of customers saying that, hey, we need to have the Microsoft 365 backups. But when we talk to other people, they are like, why do we need to back it up? It's already in the cloud. So what's the point of having the backup solution? Well, first and foremost, Microsoft is not responsible for your data. So they are responsible for their service only, but your data is your data. And that is one of the main reasons why do you want to separate your data being stored in the actual tenant, your mails, your contacts, your OneDrive items, and to store it somewhere else, for example, in AWS, Wasabi, for example, compliance purposes, or for some legal requirements, or maybe for some just archiving purposes for some former employees that could just leave your organization. Another reason might be the readiness for outage or for the accidental data deletion. The ransomware also takes place here, and of course, it's a target for hackers to steal your data, to encrypt it, to delete it. So having a backup means to have a good sleep during the night, how I sometimes say about that. So there are really a lot of reasons, again, to have the Microsoft 365 backups. And of course, someone may say that, okay, I can restore my data with Microsoft 365 itself. True, that's absolutely true. But it gives you the default 30 days restore window where you can restore the item that have been deleted. So if you want to go beyond that, of course, the backup is important. Again, if you have a compliance, for example, HIPAA compliance, you may need to store the data for 7 years, and this might be quite valuable. So what does MSP360 offers as a backup? So as I said, we can back up Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace solutions. So we can back up mail, OneDrive, contacts, calendar. We can also back up SharePoint sites, and we can back up Teams, which actually gives you the entire protection of your organization with the most valuable information. Almost the same can be backed up with the Google Workspace. And actually, I'd like to make a small poll, just 3 questions about what do you need to backup, and basically how do you use the software. We actually want to ensure that we are in the right track, and we always listen carefully to what our customers say. So we want to provide you the best service. So the first question is anybody has Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace at the same time? So do you use them together, or do you use only Microsoft 365 and only Google Workspace separately? So we see a demand from our customers to have both for the same domain, exactly the same domain for both services, Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. Second question relates to the licensing model. We will cover that a little bit later, but are you interested in the post-payment or the prepayment? I'd like to mention that MSP360 offers both of these payment types. So it's possible to have either a post-payment or the prepayment. So it's both available, but we just want to hear what you tell us. And the last question is, do you prefer local or cloud storage? Because currently we have the cloud solution, and there is some solution how you can store your backups for Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace locally, but we want to understand what are you specifically looking for. So these are 3 questions that are quite important for us to make the right decisions. So I would just leave it for a couple of more minutes so you can vote, and I highly appreciate that. And meanwhile, I will continue with the presentation. Right, so getting back, so what can we back up? Mail, OneDrive, contacts, calendar. This requires just one user license. So one license, one mailbox. And it covers mail, OneDrive, contacts, and calendar. If you need to backup SharePoint, you can have just one license for tenant that would cover all of your SharePoint sites, including Teams conversations. The same license models works with Google Workspace, where one user license or one mailbox license is required to backup Gmail, Drive, contacts, and calendar, and a separate license, only one per tenant, is required for the unlimited number of shared drives. Okay, so this is just a couple of words about what can we backup, and now let's just talk about what else can we offer. Of course, one of the most important, and I think we would not be in this business if we would not have the option to make an export to a PST, which is one of the most important and most valuable feature that our customers have been asking for a long time. Now we also have the point-in-time restore. So if you want to go back with your SharePoint files or with your OneDrive data, so you can just select the point in time and restore the data how it used to be by the specific date. So that's possible. Of course, object lock and immutability, I think everyone is aware what it is. But if someone doesn't know what is that, then this is just the ability to keep your data and not to allow the deletion until the specified period of time expires. Basically, it makes your backups really bulletproof against the hackers about someone who wants to delete them. So the object lock is a quite crucial feature. You may also know about this feature as immutability. So it depends on the cloud storage. So not all cloud storage providers support it, but of course, our backup also can work with that. We can also back up the in-place archive with Microsoft 365. And so there are some other quite useful features. One of my favorite in this list, for example, is the user access for the self-service. So you can provide the link to your end users and tell them that, hey, you need to restore something. Here's your link. Just find the file or item or mail that you want to restore, and you can find it easily. So they will not ask you to do the restorations as the administrator or as an MSP. You are not supposed to do all of the restorations. You can just allow the end users to make the restores by themselves, so they can access only their backups, and they cannot just delete it. They can just read it and restore it, which is quite useful. And I also see a question from the chat, can we restore backup from one tenant to another tenant? So the answer is yes, we can do that. We can do that with mail, and I will show it a little bit later how it can be done. All right. So moving forward, another benefit of MSP360 service is that it just simply straightforward and it's set and forget setup. So it just takes around 10-15 minutes to configure it, no matter how big your tenant is. You have hundreds of users or you have thousands or just a couple. It almost takes the same time and it can be done really quite fast and quite easily. So set it and forget it is quite important option. So you can work with organizations, you can automatically decide which users and which user groups should be enabled. And if you have a new user in, for example, organizational unit, it would be automatically picked and enabled with a backup. So you don't need to configure it every single time when something happens in your organization. So it just once set up, and then you can just enjoy the ride. Okay, so now I think that we might be ready for the product demonstration. As I promised, it's quite short presentation. I think that no one loves presentations because it doesn't show any actual value. So let me just switch my screen and show you how it can be done. So with the first step, we just need to log in with the application. So I would show you how our product works on the single tenant, and then I can show you how the other setups can work. So if you have multiple tenants. So the setup is quite simple. You just navigate to apps.msp360.com and you just click on Microsoft 365 Business. When you click on that, you just need to authenticate with the global administrator rights, with the global administrator permissions. And that would allow you to log into the web console. So once you're in for the first time, if you don't have a storage, now you can also leverage the built-in storage that is powered by Wasabi. So you can just select the first option and you would pay MSP360, means us, for the both licenses and for the storage. Either you want to have your own cloud storage where you have the full control over your data, you can use any cloud storage that is mentioned on this list, including S3 compatible, if it's not mentioned here. But this is something really new that we have added not a long time ago. MSP360 powered by Wasabi is now also available, or Amazon S3 is now also available as a part of our Microsoft 365 backup solution. So you just select the first option. It costs $7 for 1 terabyte per month. And it has a minimum retention period of 30 days. So if you delete anything early, you would still have to pay us for the entire month. It's just the limitation of Wasabi, it's not us. Or you can go with any other option. Again, we are cloud agnostic, and we are not locking you with our solution. We just give you the easy option to get started and not worry about anything at all. So just select the region. For example, I want to use Oregon. I click on Save, and my account will be created. So I will be ready to start my initial configuration. As I mentioned, the initial configuration takes just a couple of minutes. So the storage have been added. So now I can navigate to users. Now, all of my users, I just have 6 of them, so not too big tenants, honestly, are already in here, and I can start the configuration. So I can enable the users that I want to have the backups for, and click on Configure Backup. So I enable the service, and I enable which specific type of the backup do I want to have. So I can enable mail, drive, contacts, and calendar backup for these users, and I can enable, for example, another type of the backup for other users. So only mail will be needed. The trial license has started automatically. All new users get 15 days of a fully featured trial automatically. So I have nothing to worry about. This green icon means that the server had been enabled with the backup and it would start automatically. So we configured where we want to store our backups. It's this storage, integrated storage powered by Wasabi. We enabled which data we want to backup. So now we can also enable something else. User permission allows me to either allow or deny these selected users to log into this console. So once they log in with apps.msp360.com under their Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace user account, they would be able to access their data until they are not global administrators, because the global administrator can see all of the data for all of the users. And if I want to allow them to make the restorations, I can also do that. So when I click on that, now it's enabled the self-service. So as easy as possible. The last step that we may want to configure is the retention policy. So the retention policy defines for how long the data will be stored. So right now it's not created, meaning that it would be kept forever. So none of the data will be deleted. To create one, we just click on create new retention. We configure the service, for example, a mail, for example, 6 months. We select service, specify 6 months, and that's it. Done. So now we have created the retention policy that we can assign. So now it's so easy that I have nothing to do anymore here. So my backups would start automatically, and we run the backups several times per day, fully automatically. As I also mentioned, there is some automation in place. So if I click on the top right corner on the 2 persons icon, I can also click on the user groups button, which would allow me to define the rules for the automatic user activation. So if I select the group, for example, MSP360, edit auto activate mode. So all newly created users in this user group would start with backup automatically. So again, I have nothing to worry about. So that's how easy you can configure it. And basically that's almost it. So if you have, for example, thousands of users, it would take just a couple of more minutes to get it configured. And basically, that's how you can get started easily and fast with MSP360 backup solution. So this is just the way how to get started. And now I just want to show you how it would look like once the data have been backed up, because of course, showing you just the setup would be not so interesting. So once everything is configured and everything is backed up, the view will be a little bit different. So this is how the solution looks like when you have data. You have some statistics, you have understanding of the total size of the backups. This is some real tenant. Well, it's another demonstration tenant, but with some backups. We can see everything here, which services have been backed up. So, and let's suppose that now I need to restore something. So let's suppose that I need to restore some mail from this user, demo MSP360. I can click on this envelope icon, and it would bring me directly to the mail backups of this user. By clicking on the email, I can also preview the actual email before restoring it. So maybe I even don't need to make any sort of restorations, because I can just read this data from the backups. And it's actually showing me all of the data that I currently resides on the cloud storage that I have. In case if I have any attachments in the item in my mail, I can just click on this attachment and it will be downloaded directly to my computer. So I can just click on this item and it would allow me to see this right on my screen. And if I need to make a restore, I just select the items, click on restore, and it would initiate the restoration right to the restore folder. Do you need an export to PST? Simple enough. Just click on export to PST button, and these 2 items will be exported to PST. Do you need to restore your entire mailbox? Restore all. Do you need to restore some specific folder? Here we go. So the search bar is also available, allowing you to restore and find the items that you need. So it's as flexible as possible, but at the same time, it's as simple as possible. So I hope that it makes a lot of sense. So if I need to switch to another user, I can just click on here, and now I can see the backups of another user. So I can just select it and restore it. And there was a question about, can we restore from one tenant to another? And the question is yes, of course. So we can click on restore to, and it would allow me to restore to another tenant. So by clicking this button, it would ask me to log in with another tenant account. So I can initiate this restoration to another tenant, which can be quite handy in some certain scenarios if you are merging some organizations or doing something else. So with the backup options, you can configure even more flexible options. What do you need to backup and what you don't? So again, we are trying to make it as flexible as possible, but at the same time, as simple and as needed as possible. Moving forward with the drive backup, we can also see the file and folder structure that we have with our data. It shows us again all of the backed up items. So I can navigate through all of the items that I had on OneDrive. So if I click on some folders, I can see the files. If I select the file, I can also directly download it on my computer, so I don't need to actually do almost anything if I just need to restore one file. But if I need to restore some specific folder, of course, I can just select it and it will be done. It's also quite important that we have the restore points available. This feature have been added not a long time ago. So if there are some customers who are already using, please also just give it a shot. So you can click on view restore points, and here you can pick for which period of time do you want to restore your data. So if I select, for example, October 1st, I will see how my tenant looked like on the October 1st. So it's showing me that currently this view is for October 1st, 2025, 6 p.m. Or I can return to the most recent date. In case if I need to make a restore, I just select. Again, I can specify which point in time I want to restore, and I can also specify the another tenant restoration. So that can also be done quite efficiently and quite easy. So this is quite straightforward, allowing you again to switch between different users and allowing you to see different backups for different for the entire organization. Contacts and calendar is quite also straightforward. So you can see all of the contacts in your organization, including different folders if you have any. So I think that there is not too much that we can mention here. Restore back to the original place or restore to PST, or you can just copy the information from the user in case if you have something that you need to have. In case if there are any versions, you can also find this information in here. So quite easy to use. The calendar allows you to, again, review the calendar and make the restoration. So I'm not sure how interested you are in the calendar backup. Probably the SharePoint might be a little bit more interesting. So with the SharePoint, as I mentioned, we require one license for the tenant. So it doesn't matter how many SharePoint sites you have. It's just one license for the tenant. And here you can just click on sites to backup and allow select which sites are needed to be backed up. So once it's selected, the backup would start automatically. And please note that there is also an option to automatically add all new sites to the backup. So you don't need even to do anything when, again, you have a new site. Just enable this option and it's done. So yeah, speaking about the actual site backup, it's quite similar to what do we have with the OneDrive backup. So here you can see the file and folder structure with all of the assets available. If you need to restore something specific, you can just navigate and find the files. I'm sorry, it's not so easy to find the specific file in the demonstration environment. But if you have something, you just select it and click on restore. Or you can restore it to another folder so your data will not be mixed up. And of course, we can back up OneNote files, site pages, and additional information. Basically, all of the files that reside on your SharePoint site can be restored. In case if you need to restore the entire site, for example, it was deleted, you can just select the site and click on Restore as a new site. That would allow you to restore it completely. I also would like to mention that it's possible to view the restore points. So if you have some specific restore point, you can just click on here and view how your SharePoint looked like for the specific point in time. This is really quite handy and quite important feature that would allow you to work with your backups even more flexible. And moving forward, speaking about Teams, we can back up the public and private conversations. So currently, we do not have the one-on-one, I mean, individual conversation backup. Now our team is looking for that, but at this moment, we have the public and private conversation channels, so we can back up posts where you can see all of the data and all of the files that are transferred within the same channel can also be restored. They are literally a part of the SharePoint site. So if you want to back up Teams, you just need to enable the SharePoint sites for the backup, and it will be here. So that's as easy as possible. And of course, if you need to restore something, you can just select the channel and click Restore as a new team, and that would initiate the restoration. So again, I hope that this type of solution is quite easy to use. And again, this might contain a lot of the crucial information of the organization. So that's why it might be so important and so needed. Okay. So Andrew, let me ask you, is there any questions maybe from the audience that you'd like me to answer out loud?
Yes. For example, John is asking, will we be going over pricing? So I believe this is a simple question to you.
Well, yeah, we will cover something around the pricing, and I'd like to mention that all of our prices are available on MSP360 website, so you can navigate to our website, select backup and pricing, and there you will find a calculator that would allow you to enter the required number of licenses that you're looking for. You need also to select which type of a company you are, either you have an MSP or if you are an internal IT team. Um, and there you can find the prices. So you can just put, if you need, for example, 100 licenses, you put 100 licenses, you select how many tenants you need to have for SharePoint, and it would give you the answer. If you are looking for additional backup that we also have, for example, the endpoint backup, you can also add the number of licenses and it would show you the exact number. Why I'm not so willing to go through the prices specifically, because we have the volume based discount. So the more licenses you buy, the bigger discount gets. So that's why we can talk about the starting prices, but not about the end prices, because they vary depending on the volume. I hope that I answered your question, John. But we will cover that also a little bit later. Are there any other questions, Andrew, that could be good to cover?
Yeah, about restoring messages on Microsoft Teams.
Okay,
So
so
can we do
speaking
that or not?
about
Mhm.
yeah, speaking about the messages, we can see the messages here, but we cannot restore the individual messages. We can restore the channel, so we can just select the channel and click on restore as a new team. Okay. Right. Thank you for your question. And I see that there are a lot of questions. I see 11 answer questions, and there are still some open questions. So thanks, Andrew and Leonid and Sergey, for helping me here. And thank you for asking the questions. This is quite important. So let's just move forward a little bit. One of the sweet part is the reporting, because the backup is a backup. And until you need to restore something, most probably you will never go here, because again, it's something what you can set once and forget about it. So that's why the reporting might be quite crucial, because this is something what indicates that everything goes smoothly. So by clicking on reporting, we can navigate to the backup history, where we can see how successful our backups were during the time. So by clicking on any green tick, we can see what actually have been backed up. Well, not specific files, but the specific amount of data. So for example, for October 4th, 2025, I had 19 items being backed up, and it took just 1 minute. So luckily, there were no issues, no errors. So everything is green, and I have nothing to worry about. So we can click on any of these tick and see what have been backed up. And if there are any items have been skipped, we can also see that. So the backup history reports gives you the verbose information about your entire health status of your backups, allowing you again to ensure that you can sleep well, because everything what you have is protected. By default, it's supposed to show you the worst result for the day. So it's not just green ticks. It means that it's the worst result of the day. Success. I'm just kidding. It means just there were no failures at all. So of course, this is the expected and the best result. So moving forward, there is also the backup statistics that gives you the understanding of the trends of the storage consumption that you may have. So we can see the trends, how it's changed in time. So it allows us to also prognose the data usage. In case if you'd like to have the email reports, here we go. We can go to report and reports and configure the email report that will be sent to your email on the frequency that you'd like to have. You just need to enable this option, specify the email addresses, and specify the schedule. So that can be done quite easily. And it would send you, for example, a daily report about how successful the backups were, what is the size of the last backup, and what is the total overview of your environment. Again, that is something what we have in here. And the last but not least is the audit log, one of my favorite things. So everything that we've been doing together with you is logged. So we understand the security is extremely important, and we understand that all of your data requires some audit. So the audit log allows you to see the full information of what have been done, including which pages did I visit, when I visit, who did what, who restored what. So this is really one of the most important thing with an option to export to CSV. So again, you can also provide it for the audit purposes if it's been asked for. And there are a couple of other options that are quite important for the PST expert for additional skipped items in case something was not backed up. So basically, that's almost all of the solution. So it's quite powerful and at the same time, quite simple and flexible. So speaking about the prices, I'm currently showing you the solution that works for companies who have just one tenant. So the plan depends on the number of licenses. So you can either select for how long would you like to have it. So for example, I need 4 users. So price for one user for 1 month would be $3. And including SharePoint, it would be $32. So the more users we add, uh, the well, it's easier for you to configure that. And at the same time, in case if you need to have multiple tenants with your backup, so in case if you are an MSP and you have multiple tenants, here you can consider our managed backup solution that allows you to have as many tenants as you'd like. So this is a part of our managed solution. That was the solution for individual domain. And here you can add a new domain for the backup, quite simple. And you can log in as an MSP administrator to any of them to restore your data that you need to manage. So again, this would allow you to manage your data in Malk. So you can just configure that and work with the multi-tenancy. And basically, that's almost all of my presentation for today. I know that it's been quite short, but at the same time, I wanted to show you that the solution is quite simple, but still it can protect your data quite efficiently with all of the most crucial features, including the object log immutability, including the audit log, and some other quite useful features. All right, so are there any questions maybe that someone would like to ask? Andrew, are there any questions maybe?
Well, this is an interesting and simple one. So Randy is asking, is the backup for history will take storage? So like, for example, it's 50 megabytes for today. Tomorrow we have new data with 10 megabytes. Will it have 110 megabytes or only 16 megabytes stored?
Okay, thank you for your question. So our backup is the incremental. So we do not back up over and over again every single time. We just back up something what is new. So for example, if you had 100 mail items today, we will back up 100 mail items. Tomorrow you have 2 more. So we would add 2 more items for the backup. So of course we understand that the storage is one of the most expensive thing here. And of course we don't want you to be overcharged because again, we are storage agnostic, so we do not lock you with our service. And I also need to mention that we have no contracts. So we do not lock you with our services. We don't lock you with our storage. You have a free absolutely freedom with your choice what works best for you. So of course we don't. I'm sorry for saying that, but we don't earn anything on the cloud storage. So that's why we just want you to be as efficient as possible with our services. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. Apart from that, I would say um, there are no other specific questions. Oh, there's one more. So if I want to back up Google Workspace, is there a separate interface for Google Workspace backups?
Okay, thank you for this question. So for the Google Workspace, the interface looks quite similar. It just has a tiny differences. So let me just demonstrate you the Google Workspace. So when I click, okay, something went wrong on my console. Sorry about that. Uh, something went wrong with my demonstration environment. Okay, here we go. No, in case. I think that I need to refresh my page. Some IT happens sometimes. But the main difference is that the interface is pretty the same, so you would not actually feel a big difference. So instead of OneDrive, it would be Google Drive. Instead of SharePoint, it would be shared drives. And there is no Teams component with that. So it would just have a little bit differently way of having the menu, but the interface is pretty the same. Okay, so now I was able to get in. So the same idea. So the same users, the same settings. So here I can enable different users with the same options: mail, drive, contacts, and calendar for the user. So I just enable these services and they will be backed up. The same options with the restorations. The same expert to PST is available. So all is pretty the same except for drive. It's not OneDrive, it's just drive, but with the same restore points, with the same shared drive options. But here you can just see all of them as the file and folder tree. But all in all, the interface is pretty the same with the same backup history. So I would say that almost no big difference. But thank you for that question.
Okay, and yeah, maybe just one more. Ludo is asking, when restoring emails or files, can we select a different folder, or is always the original location, the restore folder, the only options?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. So when you select the mail that you'd like to restore, it would allow you to restore it. Okay, this is not the right tenant because I didn't log in with the full permissions yet. Let me just switch to another demonstration console. But when you navigate to the restore option, if you select the specific items for mail, they will be restored in the restore folder. So I'm almost in, so I can demonstrate it to you. So if I just select these items and click on restore, they will be restored to the restore folder. So there will be a restore folder created and they will appear in there. So currently I'm just showing you the backup of the restore folder. So it's at least how it would look like on your side. But if you decide to go with the entire mailbox restore, all of the items would be with the original folders. The same would go if you restore the entire folder. So if you select the folder to restore, it would also restore to the original location. That's even the question that we ask before restoring. And you can also include the subfolders, of course, quite crucial. And yeah, it's possible to restore to the original location, but the specific items, when you select a couple, they would go to the restore folder. And the same can be done for Drive. So when we select some items for Drive and click on Restore, we can either restore to the original location or to the restore folder. So for Drive, it's a little bit easier to decide how you'd like to proceed. I hope that I also answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your questions. I like it. Any other questions? I see
Well,
that
if
there are a lot of questions today, actually, even in chat.
yeah, that's true. And well, just wanted to understand if there's something else that you wanted to show us, or we could just keep going through the questions with live answers.
I showed pretty much everything that what I wanted to show, to be honest. And we still have 18 minutes of our book time, so that's why I'd like to answer the questions, because of course I could show something. Sometimes maybe I was too fast, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast. I know that sometimes people even write in comments like, "Please ask Dmitry to speak slower." If I'm not mistaken, there were no such comments today, but.
No.
Yeah, I know that sometimes I can be too fast. Sometimes I may skip some specific topic, or maybe didn't go too much into detail. So that's why I like to answer the questions, because that's the best way to learn the software and show our solution.
All right. Well, actually, let me just take the mic for a second and answer one of the questions from the chat.
Sure.
So Randy is asking, if we delete the email on the tenant, will it stay on the backup, and can we restore it to a different email account? Yeah, this is definitely true, because that is the point of the backup. So it stays in a separate place, so not in your original tenant. And if you remove it, that's basically the part where you go to the backup. And if you need to restore it, then you go and restore it either to the same tenant or maybe to another tenant while it's added to our backup. So I
Thank you,
hope that
Andrew.
answers the question.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Any last questions, maybe? Or Andrew, in your opinion, maybe I missed something, or maybe I should show something else again?
No, to be honest, in my opinion, so this is a very simple um, kind of backup. So you have already seen that there's, well, not too much to even configure there. So it's mostly like do a few clicks and the backup starts, and then you just need to know where you need to click the right restore button depending on the service. So I don't think there is something else that we need to cover here. So everything was shown.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, if anybody has any questions, we have the entire sales team being ready to answer all of your questions, make individual demonstrations, help you with all of the setups. Andrew and Leonid would also be happy to jump on the call with you and help you with all of the configurations, even though it takes really just a couple of minutes. Sometimes there may be some nuances and some details that our customers wants to be aware of, but yeah, this is the solution that is as straightforward as possible, and I hope that today you could also feel that, because that's the main idea, what makes the difference.
Yeah, just maybe one small thing that you could share with everyone. So for those people that are new to our solution, either they're heading to the standalone version or maybe to the managed version of Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace backups, whom or where or how they can contact us to maybe get answers to a few questions. Maybe they would like to have some details on the product, or maybe like head over to the actual purchase.
Well, yeah, you can always just contact sales at MSP360.com if you have never spoken to us, and one of our sales representative would get back to you as soon as possible. So just drop an email to sales at MSP360.com, and we are not the typical sales, so don't worry. We don't have account executives, so we don't have sales. We have customer onboarding specialists and solution architecture. So our main goal is to ensure that you can see the value of the product and you get all of your questions and concerns addressed. So we can help you with everything, and we are not trying to impose you our services. So please don't be shy when reaching out to us, because we are here to assist you and not to sell.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. And I see a couple of questions from chat. So can you talk about the object lock? So this is really something what I didn't mention quite detailed. So I showed how to configure the retention policy. So the retention policy can be configured either from the users page when you are assigning the retention policies. So here we just need to create a retention policy. For example, again, a mail 6 months. I configured it in another tenant. So that was the very first tenant with no backups at all. And this is the existing one. So I, for example, specify 6 months. And if my storage has the object lock enabled, then my backups would also remain immutable within the same retention period. So once I click on create, all of my backups that would be backed up after applying this retention policy would also be immutable for this specified period of time. And it would work only for these users who has this retention policy. So in other words, the retention policy defines the object lock settings. And if I configure another retention policy for another users, it would apply another retention to get along with another with the different object lock period of time as well. And the object lock is supported with Amazon Web Services, Wasabi, and Backblaze. I hope that I didn't forget any cloud storage that has the object lock at this moment. But the object lock, again, allows you to protect your data from the accidental or malicious deletion from the cloud storage until the specified period of time expires. So for example, if someone would try to delete my backups tomorrow that I have backed up, they will not be able to until these 6 months expire. Again, this is quite important note. This retention policy with the object lock would be applied only to the backed up data after it was applied. So if something was backed up before applying this retention policy, it would not be covered with the object lock. This is really quite important because the way how the object lock mechanism works, it's just the specific period of time that we need to put when we create the object. But it's still possible to make some solutions if you need to apply or reply the object lock, but it's not an easy solution, but still something possible to do. I hope that I answered your question. And there is another question. Can you show again how to restore to another mailbox? Sure. So we just need to navigate to mail, find the specific mailbox that we need to restore or the specific items. And here there is always an option. So if I select the items, for example, these 3 items, the first button, restore, would restore it to the same mailbox, to the same demo MSP, to the restore folder. But if I click on restore to, it would ask me to authorize with another tenant. So I can restore it, these files to another tenant. So I can just click on another account and they will be restored in there. So it can be done very simple. And it can also work on different levels. So if I want to restore the entire mailbox, it's also possible to just click on restore all mailbox items to, and specify to which mailbox you'd like to restore it to. So I hope that it makes sense. The same can be done with Drive. So I can select the items, click on restore, and select to restore to another account. And it will prompt me to log in with the credentials of that account where I'd like to make a restoration to. So again, I hope that it's quite easy. And I hope that this would work well for you. All right. Anything else? I see that looks like there are no questions. So we will share the recording after this webinar. Again, if anybody wants to have more individual conversation, so we are always here. Just feel free to reach out to your sales representative if you're already using our services, or please feel free to reach out to sales@msp360.com. Again, don't worry about sales. We are your friends, and we will do everything to help you to set it up and to be as efficient as possible. Okay. So thanks everyone for your time. I wish everyone having a nice day. And yeah, have successful backups. Thank you. Bye-bye.